Here are two real-world problems for solving inequalities. So we're going to read these word problems and then solve them. So it says you walk dogs in your neighborhood after school, and it says you earn $4.50 per dog that you walk. $4.50. How many would you need to walk to make at least $75? Write and solve an inequality that represents the situation. Be sure to define your variable. So if I'm solving for how many I would have to walk, I'm going to let X represent the number of dogs. So I'm going to use that number symbol. So if I'm making $4.50 per dog, that's 4.50 per X, meaning X representing dogs. And if I want to make at least $75, what that's really saying is I want to make that minimum, meaning $75 or more. So the amount I'm earning, I want to be greater than or equal to $75. So now what I'm going to do is solve here. So I'm going to take 75 and divide it by $4.50. And I get 16.67. So I'm just gonna round that. Oops, I put that on the wrong side here, my bad. X is greater than or equal to, when I divide, the 16.7. Forgive me there. Now I need to walk at least 16.7 dogs. Well, you can't really walk 0.7 of a dog. So I'm just going to round this up because that 0.7 we'd round up. So you need to walk 17 dogs or more. Okay, now in the next question it says, in a community garden, you want to fence in a vegetable garden that is adjacent to your friend's garden. You have at most 42 feet of fence. If your garden has a width of 12 feet, what are the possible lengths of your garden? Write and solve an inequality that represents that situation. Again, be sure to define the variable. So if I am asked for possible lengths, I am going to let X represent possible length. And we were talking about feet, so I'm going to say in feet. Okay, now I'm going to set up my scenario. So if my garden is adjacent to someone else's garden, so let's say they have a garden, and then this is going to be our garden. Okay, if your garden has a width of 12 feet, what is the possible length of your garden? Okay, so if my garden has a width of 12, what's my possible length? So this is how I'm going to set it up. Fencing is the perimeter because that goes around, so you want to cover all around, but I'm actually sharing a wall because it says adjacent to my friends. So I'm going to have, well, actually, what if my friend doesn't have a fence around there? So maybe I do have to cover that. I'm just going to cover it just in case they don't have one. So I have 12 and 12 for two sides of my rectangle, and then assuming my friend doesn't have a fence and we need to cover hers, I'm going to do that in case. What I'm going to put here is for my rectangle, for my perimeter, I have a 12 plus a 12 for my widths of my rectangle, plus the unknown length plus the unknown length. So that's my perimeter, and that needs to have 42 feet of fence at most. So I need to use less than or equal to 42 feet of fence. So I'm going to have 12 plus 12 or 24. Two of my lengths, so two of my lengths, which I said length would represent X. So again, length is going to be my X, less than or equal to 42. Let's solve for our X. Subtract 24 on both sides. If I take 42 and I take away that 24, 42 minus 24, I'm going to have 18. So if I divide both sides now by 2, assuming that my friend doesn't have fencing there, I would need to use less than or equal to 9 feet for the length of my fence for my lengths, for my garden. The length of your garden can be at most 9 feet.